Good morning. My name is Ben Humphreys. I'm an attorney in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, and I work with Lewis Graham. He's my law partner, and together we focus on estate planning. And today we're just going to talk a little bit more about not knowing the law, and we're going to talk about what a will is. There's a lot of people out there that have wills or that want a will, and they're not exactly sure what a will does. But anyway, so we want to explain that today. And a will names who gets your stuff and who's in charge of your stuff, being the executor. A will only controls what you own in your name only when you die. And a will must go through probate court. And so a lot of people think that if they have a joint account, but they have a will, that the will controls that joint account. But that's not true. The will only controls those things just in your name only when you die. And so just kind of, for example, I own 3 cars. 2 of them I own jointly, and 1 of them I own just in my name. And so my will owns those things just in my name. And so also a lot of people don't understand that a will must go through probate court. It has to go through probate court, and a lot of people are confused about that. They say that mom or dad passes away, and they come in and they say, mom or dad had a will, and can we just go ahead and distribute the stuff? And so we have to tell them no. A will actually is not valid until the court actually probates the will and gives it a blessing, and it goes through the probate court process. And so a lot of people are confused about that. They don't understand that a will does not actually have any effect until after you pass away, and you have to go through the probate court process. In fact, we had a lady come in this year, and her husband had died, and the will left everything to her, and she thought that we could just go ahead and transfer it over to her, but we had to tell her that a will has to go through probate court. And so the difference is a trust does not have to go through probate court, but a will does. Okay? And so the next thing that we talk about on probate court is that what is probate court? It's a legal word, and it means certain things. It's essentially a legal process. It's set by the state of Kentucky, the rules. There's a delay when you go through probate court. The estate cannot distribute any assets for at least 6 months. And generally it takes 7 to 9 months for a probate court case to get through the courts and for the assets to get to your family or your friends, whoever you're leaving stuff to. So you always have to understand that that if you have a will, it has to go through probate court, and your stuff is not getting to your friends or family for essentially 7 to 9 months after you pass away. So there's a lengthy wait if you're using the will probate court process. So also we always tell people that even though you have a will, the courts always give deference to wills. But when you use a will and you use the court process, you are giving up a lot of rights. You are giving control over your estate to the courts. And whereas a trust, you remain in control. Your trust controls what happens. When you go through the court process, the court is in control. And so, we're in cases right now where the person passed away, they had a will, and the children didn't like what was in the will. And so they are challenging what's in the will. And so anytime you use a will and you go through the courts, you're giving up control. You're letting the court control what happens to your assets. And so we also kind of believe that you're giving other people a free venue to litigate your estate. And so, we believe that it's better to go by your rule book to allow your estate planning documents and your decisions to control your assets. And as a general rule, we believe the best way to do that is using a trust. Also, we tell people that when you use a will and you go through the probate court process, everything you do is public record. And so the will is recorded and it's a public document. What assets you own are recorded with the court, and those are public documents. So, how much you own when you die and who you're leaving it to, all of those things are public records. And And so a lot of people don't understand that. And so if you don't want people to know what you have, if you don't want people to know who you left it to, then you don't need to go through a will. You don't or process. Also, that using a trust is not public. And so a will versus trust, the trust is private. It's not in the courts. The control is with your decisions and your what you want, as opposed to a will being going through the probate court process. And then finally, we tell people that AARP has estimated that going through the probate court process, so using a will and then going through the probate court process, cost estates and cost families about 5 to 20% of the estate. And I have verified that information with other sources. So not only AARP, but also other documents and books out there that have reviewed these things estimate that the cost of going through probate court is 5 to 20%. And that's based upon, in Kentucky, a lawyer can charge up to 5% of your estate, and an executor can charge up to 5%. And so we're already up to 10% on an estate that's coming out of your estate, not going how you want it to go to your friends or your family members. On top of that, probate costs have risen. They have essentially doubled since I've started practicing. In addition to that, there's if you go through courts in, say, Jefferson County, they have bonds that you have to post, which can cost up to over $1,000 easily. And so people don't understand that when you have a will and you use a will to transfer your assets to your loved ones, there's a delay. You have to wait at least 7 to 9 months to get the stuff to your loved ones. The control is with the court. The court sets all the rules. It's public record. So if you're leaving one child less than another child, or you're not leaving things to stepchildren or things like that, all of that is public record, and everybody can see that. And then finally, in my opinion, the biggest thing is the cost. Going through the probate court process is very costly to your family and to your estate. And it's not something that I wanted my children to do. And so I don't have a will. I have a trust because, I believe that I've already paid for these things once. I've already bought my house once. I've already bought my office once. I've already bought my car. And I don't want to have to pay for these things again. And so if I require my family to go through the probate court process, they're going to be charged 5 to 20% of my estate. They're going to have to pay that to somebody else to get those assets. And I just don't think that anybody should have to buy something twice, just simply because a will costs less than a trust to set up. So you have to think about these things. So just think about on a $100,000 estate. So let's say you have a $100,000 house or $100,000 in the account. And when you die, if you have a will and you're using the will to get your stuff to your friends or family members, you're looking at having to pay anywhere from $5,000 to, let's say, $15,000 just to go through the probate court process. And so if you have a trust generally costs less than $5,000. And so we know that using a trust and going through that process is always going to be, as a general rule, cheaper than the probate court process, based upon the estimations of AARP and the other books that we've seen. So that's why we always tell people that when you do estate planning, that yes, that using a will up front is cheaper. Okay, it's cheaper to do a simple will, but on the back end, your family ends up losing 5 to 20% of the estate. And unfortunately, I have seen family farms or homes have to be sold to pay attorney fees or inheritance tax fees, all those things. And so you need to have a plan that doesn't cause your family to lose the assets that you've built up simply because you're not using the most efficient estate planning tools that are out there. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with people, just kind of go over what a will does and what probate court is, because a lot of people don't know, and I think it's important to know. So I hope that helps, and I hope everybody out there stays healthy. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.